Good evening and welcome to the One Global Team product training webinar. And of course, tonight our topic is balancing your hormones naturally. My name is Lawrence Billing, and of course our guest speaker tonight is Heather Billing. And I just want to give you a little bit of background so that you understand what to expect. One thing is that we just really are required by law to let you know that Heather, first of all, is not a naturopath or a qualified practitioner of anything except for being an extraordinary woman, an amazing mum, and someone who has experienced, well, in my eyes, some of the most hideous hormonal challenges that anyone could experience. Now, she's giggling over there in the background, but, I don't know a lot about what life is like for a woman, except that I've been living with a wonderful one for almost 21 years. Anyway, so this information tonight is definitely not going to diagnose you of anything. It's not to, we're not here to recommend anything specifically for your condition. It's general information, and it's shared through experience and gathered through experience. And one thing that you will have from tonight is some testimonials that maybe you can reflect on and see how that they can apply to your life. So I think that that's about all that needs to be said in regards to the qualifications and all that sort of stuff. So what I'd like to do is hand it over to Heather, and you guys are in for a treat. This is absolutely incredible information, and I'm looking forward to hearing what Heather has got to say. Thank you very much. And Heather, it's over to you.
Thank you, Lawrence. Well, it's great to be able to share with you tonight. And I was thinking that perhaps just to give you a little background on where the whole hormonal journey for myself began. As Lawrence mentioned, obviously I'm a woman, so I started to experience some interesting things early on as far as my hormonal cycle went. And I remember when I was 13 actually going to the doctor with, the various complaints that I had as far as my cycle and my PMT symptoms were going, and remember being told that once I had a baby, everything would sort itself out, which is not really what you want to hear when you're a 13-year-old. And that continued on. Basically, I tried different things. Nothing seemed to really make a difference for me hormonally. And I did go onto the pill for a while and didn't get any relief from that either. But I really believe that when we're actually searching for answers, then it is amazing how that we will actually find what we're looking for. And so our intention tonight is to actually share with you some information which actually may give you some of the answers that you're looking for as far as your hormonal health goes. I think as women, I know as women, we innately have an inbuilt antenna, intuition, call it what you like, but we do innately know what our bodies are needing, and we just need some guidance in the right direction. So just hoping that the information tonight can give you some of that direction, and if nothing else, can give you some education, as it has done for me as I've looked into this, and as we've actually been able to help many, many women with their hormones. And for those guys that are actually on the call, I really want to acknowledge you as well, because the fact that you're on the call is obviously an indication that you're interested in helping the women in your life. And also we are going to talk about men's hormones as well, because believe it or not, you guys do have hormones and you are actually being affected just as much as women are, although it's probably in some cases not quite as obvious. But men's hormones are definitely being affected by the same thing that women's hormones are as well. So some great information for men as well. Thank you for being on the call. Now, I mentioned how everything happens for a reason, and when you're looking for answers, the answers appear. And I had actually found this book, which is called Hormone Heresy: What Women Must Know About Their Hormones by Cheryl Selman. And I started reading it, and it actually answered a lot of the questions that I had. And I was reading it and thinking, wow, finally somebody is making sense. There was just so much common sense information in that book that I was just absolutely wrapped. And I thought, wow, this is definitely something that I know I can benefit from. And there's probably lots of other women out there that could benefit from this information as well. Just even basic things which I'd never found out before, I'd never been told, I'd never considered, is the fact when we young women are actually, our daughters and ourselves, we're actually suffering with PMS symptoms, PMT symptoms, whatever you want to call them, it could actually be as simple as that the body is actually dehydrated. We actually just need to drink more water, because by doing that, that can make a huge difference to our symptoms and actually reduce them. So just really great things like that. And so that started my journey on looking into natural things that we could do to really make a difference with our hormones. Now, this was, I don't know how many of you might have actually experienced some of these different personalities, shall we say. You may have experienced one or two or all of them at different times. But for the men in our lives, I'm sure at times they've looked at us and wondered, who is this strange person? Has aliens come in and taken over our bodies? Because often we are actually feeling like this, but we don't really know why. And there doesn't seem to be anything that we can do about it. It's just the way that things are. And that was actually my experience as well. It was because I couldn't find any answers. I was, sort of come to the point where I'm a woman and this is what I've got to go through every month. This is my experience of being a woman. Because in our family, we obviously had a lot of hormonal challenges. I was the youngest of 5 children, and my mum had a hysterectomy when I was about 8. My eldest sister has had a hysterectomy. My aunties have had hysterectomies. And that was the general consensus, that in our family we had hormonal challenges. And if it wasn't working like it should, then you would actually get it cut out to fix the problem. And what we've actually discovered with the research that we've done is that we can actually do some really simple things and give the body what it needs to actually repair itself. So you don't have to be feeling like any of these dwarfs here that we've got on our page. That can all be something that's in the past. So we're going to start off with a little bit of biology just to get in our minds of what hormones are and how that they actually work. And they are our chemical messengers. And they're responsible for so many different things in our bodies. And so if they're not actually working properly, if they're out of balance, then it affects all areas of our body. So some of the things that they're actually responsible for is growth and development and aging, metabolism, so how our body gets energy from the foods that we eat, sexual function, reproduction, and our moods. And the endocrine glands are the special groups of cells make the hormones. Of course, the other endocrine glands are the pituitary, pineal, thymus, thyroid, adrenal glands, and the pancreas. And in addition, men produce hormones in their testes and women produce them in their ovaries. So there's many different glands in our bodies that actually produce hormones. And that's why having our body working at optimum levels obviously then ensures that our hormones are actually balanced and everything is working as it should. So what actually causes our hormones to be out of balance? And it is because we're living in the world that we're living in, unfortunately. And one of the major things that actually causes problems is the toxins that are all around us. They're in pesticides, they're in plastics. In particular, when it comes to plastics, you should never actually heat your food in plastics, because as plastic is actually heated, it actually releases toxins out of the plastic. If you're ever heating anything in a microwave, and that's a whole other topic to talk about, microwaves, but if you are actually heating anything in a microwave, it's very important to actually make sure it's in a glass or a crockery bowl rather than plastic, because you're actually releasing chemicals into your food that you're then eating. Household chemicals, the things that we're using on a daily basis, whether it's cleaning our house with all those chemicals that seem to do such a great job, but when you think about what they're doing, they're actually breaking down, proteins and the things that create the dirt. What are they actually doing to our bodies as well? Our water. Now, we know that we need to drink lots of water, but it's really important to make sure that we're actually drinking good quality filtered water. I was actually reading an article today. When you think about all the prescription drugs and antibiotics and medications that people are actually on, and 90% of the medications that people take actually pass through the body and out through the urine and into obviously the sewage system, but ultimately into our water system. And so it's a vicious cycle. Not only are we affecting how that whole process works, affecting ourselves, but we're also affecting the frogs and the fish and everything that's actually living in the water as well. Now, our food, we know our food is not what it used to be, and if we're eating meats and those sort of things that aren't organic, then a lot of those things have hormones in them, so that then is affecting our own hormonal balance. And something that's you may not have even thought about, but furniture and like our lounge, our carpets, all that sort of thing have got chemicals in them. Especially when we get a lounge, they promote that it's Scotch guarded or whatever. All these chemicals are actually disrupting our own hormonal balance. And so what they're doing is they're actually mimicking the hormones in our bodies. So that's why the body can't actually produce the real hormones. And obviously things like the birth control, synthetic hormones are actually doing the same thing. So if you actually have hormonal imbalance, and I would suggest that the majority of the population does, whether you're aware of it or not, or struggling to get pregnant, avoiding toxins is very important. It says here, suggests that you find organic produce and meat wherever possible, and don't use chemical pesticides or cleaners. And one of the great things that we have with our New Ways products is that we have systems in place where that you can actually convert your bathroom with a complete bathroom pack, which will actually take care of making sure you're removing all the toxins out of your products that you're using every day. Because these things are something that we are using multiple times and in many products. So it just really makes a difference to be using products that don't have any harmful ingredients in them, and it will make a huge difference to our hormonal health. We also have a Healthy Homes Eco Pack, which takes care of our kitchen and our laundry. And again, really, really advise that this will make a huge difference to your hormonal health by just getting rid of the toxins, because we are exposed to these products all the time. When you think about your laundry powder, for example, we're washing our sheets and our towels and our clothes generally in a laundry powder that's got things in it that aren't nice, that aren't good for us, that don't work with our body's chemistry, and we're sleeping on our pillow all night, so we're breathing it in all night. It's close to our bodies. As we sweat, it goes into our bodies. So just have a look at that whole side of it, because that, again, can make a huge difference to your hormonal health. Now, another thing that actually is not helping to create hormonal balance is the stress that's in our lives. And we know that most of us have busy lives, and there's things that can really stress us out. And so one of the things to look at is ask yourself, is stress a huge thing in your life? And if it is, you need to actually, for your own health, implement relaxation practices, exercise, manage that as best that you can. Obviously, we can't unless we all go and live up in the mountains, have stress-free lives, but we need to actually implement things to look after ourselves in those areas. Now, this is an interesting one, sleep. Now, this is a really important one because if you aren't getting enough sleep, your hormones will not be balanced. Period. No pun intended there. But if you're actually getting to bed after 11 p.m. and getting less than 7 hours sleep, your hormones will be affected and you will gain weight. Now, one of the challenges with when your hormones are at a balance, of course, can be for women is that they do find that they're holding on to a little bit of extra weight. Now, whether you actually had related that to the fact that you're not sleeping as much as you should be, or you're going to bed too late, you're up all night and going to bed at 2 a.m. or, whatever it might be. So just be aware of that. Now, some of the things that you can actually do if you're finding it hard to get to bed by 11 p.m., like because you're not relaxed, is actually look at things that you're doing before you go to bed. But one of the wonderful things that we have, which we're going to get to in a little bit more detail in a minute, is the hormone balancing cream, the Endau cream. Now, this is really fantastic to rub on the bottom of your feet just before you climb into bed because it's very relaxing and it can actually help you to get to sleep. Another product that we have, which I've just thought of too, of course, is the Extraman Feel Calm, which is our product that helps you relax and, to help with stress as well. So that's something else that can actually help you to relax before going to bed. Now, of course, there's one of the huge things that does cause hormonal imbalance is hormonal contraceptives and synthetic hormones, whether it be hormones that we're taking for contraceptive reasons or whether it's hormones that we're taking because we're actually going through HRT. So these substances actually, of course, are coming into our body and attempting to actually mimic the effects of naturally occurring hormones in the body. Now, obviously, whilever we're taking them, our body can't naturally do what it needs to do as far as our hormones work. So the way that hormonal contraceptives work is they suppress the release of hormones that trigger ovulation. So when you're on the pill, for example, you don't actually ovulate. Your body is actually put into a state of false pregnancy. And then when you actually get your period, if that's how your contraceptive actually works, it actually forces the body to bleed. It's not a natural occurrence, as what would happen in our normal cycle is that we would ovulate, and then as pregnancy doesn't occur, we would then get our period. When we're actually on the pill, that whole process is basically managed by the artificial hormones, and so the body's not doing anything natural. It's being forced into a false state. So they also stimulate production of a thick cervical mucus, which prevents the sperm survival and ability to travel to a ripe egg in the event that ovulation does occur. And they also disrupt the ability of the cilia, which are whip-like cells that line the fallopian tube, to move a fertilized egg towards the uterus in the event that conception does occur, and prevents the buildup of the uterine lining. So therefore, because that's not actually happening, then you're actually forcing the body to actually bleed when you get your period. So I never actually knew that. When I actually learnt, somebody actually asked, it was actually Cheryl Selman said to me, do you actually know what happens to your body when you're on the pill? And I had no idea. I thought, well, it stops you from getting pregnant, but I had no idea of the effects that it was actually having on our body. When you actually think of the control that it takes over, remember in the beginning we were actually talking about the hormonal process affects every function in our body. So when we're actually taking something that takes over that control, then it just makes sense that it's going to affect all other areas of our body as well. All other health concerns will start to show themselves. Now, I apologise for the graphic pictures, but this is really an idea of where that they're actually sourcing synthetic hormones from. So Premarin is actually a product that is used for hormone replacement therapy, and it's been used for many, many years. And regardless of, the protests about animal cruelty and all those kind of things, it continues to be produced, and it's actually a drug that it's a billion-dollar drug. So when it's actually, unfortunately, it does come down to money. When it's something that is producing that amount of revenue, it's not something that they're going to want to stop in a hurry. So it is actually produced from pregnant horses' urine. And the question that you need to ask yourself is, okay, if it's coming out of an animal, what are the side effects when it's actually placed in my body and I'm human? So these are just good things to think about and to be aware of. Now, what unfortunately is happening a lot with hormone contraceptives is that they're actually given readily to just about for any condition, pretty much. You can see there that not only are they used to help balance hormones, but also if there's a young person that presents with acne, for example, then they will generally be put on the pill to see if that helps with their acne. But what's actually happening with that kind of a concept is that it's not actually getting to the source of why the hormones are out of balance in the first place, because it's just masking the effect. And as it says there, that it doesn't fix the root of the problem, and it can lead to bigger problems in the future, as the underlying imbalance can be causing other problems in the body. And the body is very, very clever, and it will give us little subtle hints that things aren't quite right. And if we actually ignore those symptoms and we just do something that masks it, it will then actually, I believe, manifest itself in a much greater way. So something as small as having acne that can be treated and looked after in such an easy way, and actually get to the source of why the acne is there. If we put the Band-Aid over it, then it can actually lead to greater problems. And of course, the pill has become the most popular method for birth control. And it's something that has been going now for generations. And it's prescribed for acne, as I said, to regulate periods, for heavy bleeding, painful periods, to treat PMS, endometriosis, migraines, ovarian cysts, and polycystic ovaries. And the pill is even prescribed to girls as young as 13 for acne. So when that's actually happening, I think it's time that we actually need to look at that and say, something's not quite right there. What can we do about it? Now, the pill is said to be one of the safest drugs around, but is it? In December 2002, the US government published its biannual report on carcinogens that added all steroidal estrogens to the list of known human carcinogens. The gravity of this finding cannot be overstated. All estrogens used in hormone replacement therapy and oral contraceptives have been proven unequivocally to cause cancer. There is nothing natural about taking the pill. As a result of the pill, women's ovaries may be permanently damaged, resulting in infertility. And we're going to talk about infertility because that's a real problem today as well. Now, a billionaire manufacturer of fertility drugs, he stated that our usual customers are women over 30 who have been taking birth control pills since they were teenagers or in their early 20s. Contraception formulas also increase the risk of coronary heart disease, immune dysfunction, liver toxicity, strokes, blood clots, osteoporosis, gum disease, high blood pressure, and ectopic pregnancies. The side effects include nausea, vomiting, migraine-type headaches, breast tenderness, allergies, weight increases, changes in sex drive, depression, head hair loss, facial hair growth, colitis, Crohn's disease, and increased incidence of vaginitis. Many of these effects may persist long after the discontinuation of the pill. So if you are someone that is on the pill and you actually go off the pill to become pregnant, then we would really, really encourage you to actually look at your nutritional health and to do everything you possibly could to actually put some nutrition into your body before you actually become pregnant. Because as we can read there, that the pill depletes vitamins B1, B2, B6, folic acid, B12, vitamins C, E, K, zinc, selenium, magnesium, and the amino acid tyrosine, essential for proper thyroid function. Now, how many people do we know that have underactive or overactive thyroid problems? Even more alarming is the fact that the earlier a woman uses the pill, the greater the risk of developing breast cancer and also having a worse prognosis. So just being aware of this can actually make you have better choices, I believe. And if you look at the literature, some of the literature, if you look at the side effects, it may only say that, there's a small percentage of this happening to people. But I don't know about you. I don't want to be the one that sticks my hand up and says, I'll be that person. I'll put myself in that position so that I may experience some of these things. I don't want to be in that percentile. And when you actually know that there's something simple that you can do, then it can really, be so much easier. The answers can be so much clearer for you. And of course, we hear of young women, as it says here, that there's no surprise that women as young as 17 years old are now being diagnosed with breast cancer. And we hear so many cases of young women with breast cancer. And so we need to start questioning why that is, because it shouldn't be like that. Now, another problem that is shall we say, rampant, I'm not sure if that's the right word, but it is a real challenge for couples out there, is obviously infertility. And the way that hormonal imbalance is affecting men is that it causes enlarged prostate and low sperm count. And of course, it's important to have hormonal balance to achieve and sustain pregnancy. And you may have heard people who are able to fall pregnant, but then they miscarriage quite early on in the pregnancy, and it happens time and time again. And that is because the right balance of hormones are not there to sustain the pregnancy. Now, you can see there that 1 in 6 couples are actually infertile. 40% of the problem lies with the men, 40% of the problem lies with the women, 10% with both partners, and 10% of the cases are unknown. So fertility problems strike 1 in 3 women over 35. And we know that a lot more couples now are actually leaving it later in their life to actually fall pregnant. And so the chances of you actually falling pregnant as you get, 35 is not old, but the statistics there are, quite shocking. So 1 in 25 males has low sperm count and 1 in 35 is sterile. And just as we've talked about the things that affect women, as I said, it's affecting men just as much. Now, of course, what we're suggesting, we don't actually have a natural contraceptive with what we do with New Ways, but there are other ways of actually using different methods to help you rather than what's traditionally been offered by the doctor. And of course, there's natural family planning or fertility awareness methods. And these methods actually focus on actually knowing what's going on in your body. A wonderful, wonderful book that I would highly recommend for anybody who is actually looking at this and wanting to get some different methods of actually using natural contraception is to get the book Natural Fertility, Avoiding or Achieving Contraception by Francesca Naish. It's a wonderful book. It goes through lots of different methods. And for those of you who don't want to leave it up to chance, there's something that you can get which is called a Lady Comp Fertility Monitor, which what you do is that you put your body temperature into it every day, and it will actually tell you whether, a red light is the high probability of fertility, yellow light possible, or green, no fertility. So that is a really, and there's lots of other devices out there as well. That's just one, but I know that there's others that will give you that same information. Now, for example, this particular one, I think it was on eBay or something, it was roughly around $500. And so, that's a significant investment. But if it's actually comes back to your health and the fact that you're not putting things into your body that are causing all other problems, then I would suggest that that would be a very good investment. And of course, there's other apps as well as that you can use. I actually use one, and this was thanks to Lizzie, which is called, my sister-in-law, she recommended it to me. It's called iPeriod. And it's just a phone app, and you can chart your cycle in there, the length of your cycle, and it will actually tell you the week that you're more likely to be fertile, and when your period's coming, and so you can monitor everything on that. It's more basic, obviously, but it's, again, and I'm sure there's other things out there that can actually assist you with knowing exactly where you are in the month, because in actual fact, how the body works, the chances of actually falling pregnant is such a small window. And so if you actually know when that's happening, well, then you can manage yourself around there. So achieving balance naturally when it comes to our hormones, what can we actually do? What natural products can we use that can really make a difference? And one of the products that we actually highly recommend, and this was one of the products that I got started on, and what I actually found was, after suffering for, it was roughly 15 years with really bad PMS, my cycle was 6 to 8 weeks. I would have excruciating pain. I would have very heavy bleeds. I would have bad moods, bloating, headaches, all the symptoms that I was actually experiencing. I actually found when I got onto some of these natural products that actually balanced my hormones and gave my body some basic nutrition, that even within the first 4 weeks, so the first month, some of my symptoms had actually disappeared. And within 3 months, I had my cycle down to a 28-day cycle. And it was something that just happened, rather than it being a huge event in my life where I was likely to be in bed for at least one day and affected the week before with all the PMT symptoms. So we really can do some amazing things by giving the body the natural things that it can work with. So in our Endau Harmonizing Cream, we have ingredients of chaste tree. And this is just some information that you can find on the web, and it actually explains what chaste tree actually does. And so its effect is similar to the hormone progesterone, although the plant contains no hormonal compounds. Chaste tree acts on the pituitary gland in the brain, normalizing the release of both follicle-stimulating hormones and luteinizing hormone. So the overall effect is to regulate the menstrual cycle and slightly increase the production of progesterone in women who otherwise have irregular cycles. When progesterone levels are low in relation to estrogen, the result is often infertility, heavy bleeding, lack of periods, too frequent periods, irregular periods, and premenstrual syndrome. So it's actually sharing here that the chaste tree alleviates these complaints and can actually bring about normalization of menstrual cycles, reduce fluid retention, and treat some cases of acne that flare up during menstruation. So this is a wonderful, wonderful ingredient that we have in our product. It is not our cream is not a progesterone cream, but it actually gives the body the power to convert it into the hormones that are needed, because our hormones are actually fluctuating every day, and it depends where we are in our cycle. Some days we'll actually need more progesterone. Other days we might need a bit of estrogen. And some days we may even need a little bit of testosterone. And so that's why our product is universal for women or men, because it's working with the body and giving the body the power to actually convert it into what it's needed. And of course, if it's not needed to be converted into hormones, then it will actually pass through the body, and it's actually really great for inflammation. So if there's any inflammation in the body, it will actually assist with that. Most people would have some form of inflammation, I'm sure. It's actually also fantastic for arthritis, so obviously that's inflammation of the joints. Rubbing it into your hands, or if you have a headache or you've got tight shoulders, anything like that, it's fantastic for bruising. It's actually a product that we have, which is our first aid product, because it's good for burns. It goes into our, it's something that we use for the whole family. And of course, the other ingredient that we have in our cream is the wild yam. So it's actually coming up right now. So wild yam is often promoted as a natural alternative to estrogen therapy. So you will see it used for estrogen replacement therapy, vaginal dryness in older women, PMS, menstrual cramps, weak bones, osteoporosis. I'll talk about that in a little bit as well. Increased energy and sexual drive in men and women. And it says here, wild yam does not seem to have estrogen-like activity, but is not actually converted into estrogen in the body. You will see that wild yam and diazogen promoted as a natural DHEA. What's it? So taking wild yam extract will not increase the DHEA.
So that's in regards to swallowing it.
That's actually as taking it orally. But wild yam is also used for treating the disorder of the intestines called diverticulitis, gallbladder pain, rheumatoid arthritis, and for increasing energy. Some women apply wild yam creams to the skin to reduce menopausal symptoms such as hot flashes, or hot flushes as we call them. So what it's talking up there about the natural DHEA is if you're taking it orally. What we actually do with ours is that we do apply it to the skin, and it's actually transdermal, so it goes into the bloodstream straight away. Okay, so that's the other ingredient that's actually in our hormone balancing cream. And of course, we do have wonderful ingredients in there of essential oils, which also work with the hormonal system. We've got lavender and ylang ylang and geranium. So they're all essential oils that are proven to actually assist with our hormonal balance as well. So we're getting as much synergy as possible with helping to achieve balance naturally. Okay, sorry, we're just going a little bit too quick there. So another system that we actually have is the Endau System 1. Now this is actually a system that is fantastic for women to actually get started on if you're actually still having your cycle, you're still regular. It's formulated for the use during a woman's reproductive years. This range of products supplements her nutritional intake, helps to manage and provide temporary relief from PMS, and also contains ingredients traditionally used to help relieve nervous tension, stress, and mild anxiety. And so in that particular system, you have your Endau Harmonizing Cream, which we've just been talking about. You have your Endau Essentials, which is your women's multivitamin. And you also have Endau Balance, which is a combination of herbs, which are also really beneficial for women's hormones. So that's for the women that are actually in their reproductive years. And we also have another system, which is called the Endau System 2, which is designed for use during a woman's transitional years. So that's menopause or post-menopause. This combination of products supplements the nutritional intakes of women to help maintain healthy bone density and provide relief from menopausal symptoms. It also contains ingredients traditionally used to help relieve nervous tension, stress, and mild anxiety. Now, both systems have actually mentioned the nervous tension, stress, and mild anxiety, because that's actually one of the symptoms that women can experience when their hormones are out of balance. There can be anxiety and stress, and so these products have been actually put together to balance the hormones, but also provide additional support to, assist with things that do go wrong when your hormones are not balanced. For those of you that were on our last product webinar, we actually had a wonderful naturopath speaking about the New Ways digestive enzymes. And this was a really interesting article that I actually found, because it's talking about, we find, obviously, as I was saying before, that everything is interconnected. And so often when women have hormonal challenges, they have a lot of digestive problems as well, because, which comes first, who knows? But, they're interlinked. And so one of the great products that we have is the digestive enzymes, which actually help to break down provide the enzymes when we're actually eating food. And when enzyme deficiency is left untreated, serious health problems can actually result. So enzyme deficiencies include a compromised immune system, chronic infections, fluid retention, chronic constipation, hypoglycemia, moodiness, depression, irritability, anxiety, impaired bone metabolism leading to osteoporosis, blood clots, allergic reactions, diabetes, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and varicose veins. So that's covering a lot of things. But some of those things are actually related also. They're some of the symptoms you can experience from having hormones that are out of balance as well. So modern lifestyle has contributed to the depletion of digestive enzymes, and they're actually destroyed by poisonous pesticides and chemicals, genetic engineering of our food irradiation. One of the things we mentioned before, of course, microwaves, radiation, because what microwaves actually do to your food, for those who are not aware, is that the way that it actually works is it actually changes the food cells, like the structure and integrity of the cells in the food. So then when you're actually eating that, it's in a different form. Radiation, fluoridation, heavy metals and mercury amalgams. And supplementing one's diet with plant-based digestive product is critical. And it's interesting to note that both the pill and the hormone replacement therapy cause impaired digestion and candida overgrowth. In fact, candida feeds on estrogens. And so estrogens are in our bodies. If we have too much of the estrogen because of our hormonal imbalance, then it's actually feeding, furthering the problem. So the New Ways digestive enzymes offers a specific selection of digestive enzymes that will supplement those normally found within the digestive tract to assist in the efficient digestion of protein, carbohydrates, and fats. It also contains cellulase to help break down fibrous material, as well as the plant-derived enzymes bromelain and propane. So the key benefits is that it aids digestion. You can see there all the things that it actually does. So it's actually helping with the whole way that our digestive system actually works, and actually helping to break things down so that the body can actually get a lot more use also out of the food that we're eating. I also wanted to just mention the Fit Choice Phase 1, which is part of our weight loss program that we have. And this is also a wonderful way to actually get started. If you're concerned about the amount of toxins that you may have in your system, the food that you've been eating, if a lot of it has been fast food and not totally, not healthy, not organic, so you've consumed pesticides, all those kind of things. You've had a lifestyle which has included maybe not the most healthy options. The Fit Choice Phase 1 is absolutely fantastic because it actually will help to start the detoxification process in the body. It will actually start getting things working properly and assisting the body to start releasing some of the fat as well. Because what actually happens is that when our hormones are out of balance, we'll often hold on to a lot of weight as well, because it's our body's way of actually protecting us. Because in the fat is where the toxins are actually stored, and so the body will protect us by, keeping them in the fat. And so sometimes, no matter how hard we exercise or diet or whatever, there's areas that we just can't seem to reduce the size of. So this is actually a fantastic pack to get started on, to start getting rid of your fluid retention, to have your liver working much more effectively, to have your kidneys working as they should be, you've got your ferroxin there, which is absolutely fantastic. And I would actually recommend, if you actually were considering any of the Endau systems, that you would add the ferroxin, which is our minerals, to those systems, because the minerals are really, really important also for every process in the body. And the minerals are just not in our food that we eat, no matter if we're eating organic. If the minerals aren't in our food because the minerals are no longer in the soil, then as we eat our good healthy organic food, sure, we will get some minerals, but we won't get the whole spectrum that we need. So in any of the situations that you're looking at, the ferroxin is absolutely critical because it's such an important product for our bodies. Now, obviously, if you're having some questions about what product that you should use, what product you should get started on, always get back to the person who's invited you onto the call, and they can guide you in the right direction, because depending on what your situation is, we can direct you specifically to what would actually benefit you best right now. Now, I did say that we would actually talk about bone density, because this is an ongoing concern for women, especially as we age, because osteoporosis is a major disease out there now. And of course, you'll see promoted on TV, there'll be all sorts of wonderful ads that they'll do about drinking milk and taking, Caltrate and all that sort of thing, which really is doing you no good at all, to be quite honest. I really suggest that you do your research on that. The best way to actually get your calcium, obviously, is by supplementing or eating your green leafy vegetables. You'll get more calcium out of those than actually drinking litres of milk. But we've actually had some really great results with women with their bone density, and these are women that are in their late 60s, 70s, etc. So they're women in those age groups where that you think, well, this would be a really good test to actually see if this does work. And so we've had women who've had their bone density test done, who've started then on the product. So we've got the Endau harmonizing cream, we've got the ferroxin again, which is our minerals, and we've also got the Chelamin or Chelamin Plus, which is additional minerals like your calcium and your magnesium, the ones you need larger amounts of. And so a combination of taking these products over a period of time, and their bone density levels have actually increased. So something to really consider. You may be thinking, well, I'm past menopause, I'm fine, but actually look at this as something that can really make a difference for your bones, because we know often what happens with elderly people is that if they have a fall, it can, either take them a long time to recover, or it can be the thing that takes them out. So actually having really nice, strong bones is of great benefit. Now, a quote that I heard just the other day, and I thought that this was just very applicable to what we're sharing tonight, that many people don't do well because they don't feel well. And if you've experienced any kind of hormonal imbalance, then this is probably very relevant to you. And this was how I was before I came across the New Ways products and started actually implementing them. Obviously, when we look at what we're doing, it's not just the supplementation, it is the sleep, it is drinking the good quality water. It's also looking at the food that we eat and what our diet is like. Because people that are actually suffering with things like polycystic ovaries, for example, if your diet is high in sugar and carbohydrates, you're actually making the problem worse. And so, again, when we look at the Fit Choice program, there's a fantastic eating plan in that system that if you actually implemented the suggested food plan, then that would make a huge difference to people, for example, that do have polycystic ovaries. Also, people that have acne that can't seem to get rid of it, because the food that we eat and the types of food that we eat have a huge difference, obviously, on the way that we feel. And so we all want to feel well so that we can actually have a great life and we can do the things that we want to do. And we can actually achieve that by making some simple changes and actually supporting the body in a way that we give it the materials that it can work with. The body is amazing. It will heal itself if it's given the right sort of building blocks to work with. And so I really hope that tonight you've got some value from the information that has been shared. It's been a little difficult, I guess, to make this quite concise because there is so much information out there, but I do hope that what you've received tonight has given you some value. And I just want to thank you for your time and for being on our webinar tonight.
Thank you, Heather. Wow, we've been getting so many messages coming through of people, saying this is awesome information, truly. And we've actually just got probably enough time for maybe one or two questions. Is that okay, Heather? Or maybe even one testimonial as well. And I just got a question that came through with regards to fibroids. Now, I don't know what they're talking about, Heather, but do you know anything about that? Is what you've shared able to help?
Absolutely. So when we actually look at symptoms, whatever it might be, so if it's fibroids, if it's polycystic ovaries, as I said, if it's what else? I'm just trying to think. Endometriosis, if it's what's the sore breast called?
Fibrocystic breast.
Fibrocystic breast, thank you. So if it's any of those kind of things that you're actually looking at, it is an indication of hormonal imbalance. And as far as fibroids go, generally they're not considered to be a real problem, although sometimes people can have them and they can cause pain. So obviously that is a problem. But what I would actually suggest as far as fibroids go is obviously taking the products to help balance your hormones. But in particular with the hormone balancing cream, and this is something that you can do if you've got thyroid problems as well, because you can actually rub it directly to the area. I would actually encourage the person that has the fibroids to rub the Endau harmonizing cream into that area, because the reason I'm suggesting that is because it's going straight into that area. The same with the thyroid. If it's overactive or underactive, actually rubbing it into the neck area can make sure that the ingredients are penetrating directly into where that you need it. And just on that, I just thought of a wonderful testimonial of my mum, who's in her 70s, who goes for regular blood tests, and she was told that her thyroid levels were getting high and the doctor was considering putting her on medication. And so Mum and Dad have been using the products now for 15 years, and so Mum said, this is what the doctor said. I said, great, if you don't mind, I'll use you as a guinea pig. And so I actually got her to rub the Endau cream into her thyroid every day. I also got her to take the C-Pill Plus, which is a fantastic product that we have, which is great for circulation, but it's also got the iodine in it, which is great for the thyroid. And within 3 months, when she went back to her doctor, the doctor said, your thyroid levels have come down. Fantastic. We don't need to put you on medication. So I was absolutely stoked about that. She's my mum, and I want her to be well and live a long time.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. Now, there was another question that came across here, Heather. Can Crohn's be caused due to hormonal imbalance? I think I read something in some of the literature that I was actually reading
Yeah,
earlier.
absolutely. It does. It all comes down to, of course, the digestive system and how the whole it's interconnected. Obviously, also looking at Crohn's is, has the person actually been on any synthetic hormones in the past, and so how that all relates. And of course, we can do a lot for Crohn's disease. Obviously, we're not going to say that we can cure it, but we can make a huge difference for people because we can actually help with the digestive system, get the hormones balanced, and the two will actually work together to heal that.
Probably enzymes would be very beneficial for that, wouldn't
Yeah,
it?
absolutely. The enzymes and the lactoflora would also be a fantastic product. We also have a product which is trans factor, and then just creating hormonal balance as well would be of great benefit.
Fantastic. Now, okay, look, I guess really we're out of time. So, on that note, though, I'd I'd really love to let you know about some of the up and coming events. Now, I know I'm a fair way away from the microphone at the moment, but look, if you've loved tonight, what I'd love you to do is put in your diary for next Tuesday night at 8 p.m. because I know that there's a lot of people on this webinar here tonight, and there's a lot of people that you know that are actually seeking to release weight, and they're doing that with Fit Choice, or maybe there's other methods that they're actually using. And of course, when you're losing weight because you're using a detoxification process, it would make a lot of sense to use a skincare system that is actually supportive of that, wouldn't it? So, using a skincare system without any harmful chemicals that you're able to use, which actually firms your skin and tones your skin and tightens it up. So, in fact, I've been using one of the products that's going to be talked about next week. It's called Firm Up because it actually helps me as a result of losing a significant amount of weight and looking as fit as a greyhound and running like one as well. I was a little bit concerned about getting a turkey neck. And I know you ladies know what I'm talking about. Some of you guys probably don't. But so I've been using the Firm Up. So you're going to learn a lot of those things about the products that are going to help your skin look amazing. That's going to be 8 p.m., 1st of April. So keep your eyes open for the link. And then, of course, tomorrow night here in Sydney, for those that are here, you'll want to get along to the New Ways Information meeting with Rob Slade and myself. And we're actually facilitating a discussion. So if you have any great testimonials and information that you know could help other people that are actually listening, come along and share them. And of course, if you are new and you're wanting to know a little bit more about what New Ways is all about and how that it can help people, then definitely we look forward to seeing you tomorrow night and sharing some of the information with you that of how that this company has made a profound difference for people. But look, thank you so much. If you do have any questions, we're more than happy to answer them. So on the email that you've received on accessing this webinar, then you can actually reply to us and maybe send us some questions, and we will be happy to respond. Also, after this webinar, you will receive a survey, and you're more than welcome to respond via that as well. So thank you again for your time tonight. And thank you, Heather, so much for all of the work that you've done in creating this. And thank you, New Ways, for creating an amazingly healthy and non-moody, non-grumpy, non-psycho, non-itchy, non-scratchy, non that other one. Yes, wife. So good night, guys and ladies, and thank you so much for your time.